前段时间我们的成绩不太理想，但经过了短暂的休赛调整，你们熟悉的 Snake 已经回来了。
上一次我们输给了 Snake， 但是现在野和版本他们也套不动了，所以这次的赢家会是我们。
突然版本不能玩野和，不知我们队友还有胜利的办法。
金一虎还有死的一丝血，奥运撞上闪现给下赵鑫没有死，但是牛头人已经命丧登场，我中他一丝血成就吸鬼一波 triple kill。
只要我们配合好的去饭店安排我，还是我们支持他，都会说不利。
金贡这名选手也是个经验丰富的老上单，但是想要随便安排我也没那么容易。
我们不是你们能小看的对手。
季后赛的名额，我们和FunPlus的排名咬得最紧，所以我们要努力战胜他们，冲进季后赛。
如果想要实现冲进季后赛的目标，那么这场比赛就至关重要，所以我们一定会努力拿下胜利。
现在已经到了 Snake 期末考试时间了，所以这次面对FunPlus，我们一定会齐心协力拿下比赛。
While some teams have already claimed their playoff spots, the final few are still up for grabs. And today we get the chance to see one of the final spots in the Western Conference be challenged as FunPlus Phoenix gets to challenge Snake in the home court of Chongqing and look for revenge from the last time these two teams got to play each other in the beginning of the split. Of course, it's been 2 weeks since we've seen Snake, so of course we get to check in on their progress as well. But welcome everyone. My name is Dom. Joining me here on the desk, I should have started with that. Joining me here on the desk is Zach Rusty Pie.
Hey!
How you doing?
I'm Rusty. I should have started with that one too. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready to watch some Snake because it's a big week for Snake and we get to kick it off for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's time for National Geographic's Snake Week because they have 6 games to go through. Let's go ahead and bring up the standings so we can see where they currently sit on the roster of those teams in the Western Conference. Because again, Snake, we haven't seen them in 2 weeks. A lot of the reason for this has been some schedule shifting to accommodate the Asia Games. As a result, that means their schedule is very heavily backloaded.
Yeah, it definitely does. It also means that the Eastern Conference has been playing a little bit more games here, and you'll notice that the entirety of their conference is locked in as to who will be in playoffs or not. You can see that indicated by the nice little colors that you have there. Now, IG, JD, RNG, they've always been the powerhouses. But what you can note is that Sin Gaming, they have made playoffs this split. They were just edged out by JD last split, but both have made it this time, which means sorry LGD fans, and sorry to the 3 of you on our team that chose to bet on them. You are massive losers.
Massive
But you're
losers.
gonna look fabulous in your wigs.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in just a few days, of course. Back to the West Conference, we're looking at FPX and Snake, currently 6-7 and 6-10. They're going up against each other today in our 1 match of the day. I know it's a Saturday, normally we have 3 games, but again, to accommodate Asia Games coming up in just a week or so, we're shuffling things around to make sure that the players don't overlap or have any conflicts. Yeah. But to get to this actual matchup, because again, FPX, they're 6-10, Snake are 6-7. You look at that and you say, okay, well, they're even in wins. According to point standings, they're actually even because every single match win is 1 point. But that said, Snake have still got a lot of games that they can play through. Yes. So odds are in Snake's favor if they want to try to claim that 4th place spot.
Yeah, but Snake currently have the head-to-head against FPX as well. You saw it in the intro. They played the funnel strategies. They're able to empower SLFM and get those victories. You can see the road home now also for Snake with 5 whole sets remaining, 6 including today's game. That's a lot of games left. And what's interesting for Snake when you look at the order of these teams is it starts with the lower table standings teams and then goes into the hard teams pretty much immediately. So you've got today against FPX, important game, but it's 5th versus 4th. Yeah. Then you go straight into OMG, which is your last place team, and then bam, Rogue Warriors up to the top. You're trying to take on the big dogs. So you've got a bit of a warm-up here for Snake and, you know, a little bit of a buffer where they can afford to drop some games and then still win some others and still make playoffs.
And of course, as we last saw Snake, they were performing well before the 2-week break in which we haven't seen them. Of course, we'll talk about their performance and playstyles in a bit. To compare that, though, we've got to talk now about FPX on the other side because they have 3 games left, including this one that they're about to play right now. They're looking at Rogue Warriors and Edward Gaming, which is... There's no warm-up for FPX.
No.
They've been warming up all season for these final 3 matches.
Yeah, and this is not a warm-up today either. It's a must-win game for FunPlus Phoenix because you mentioned the standings. They have the same amount of wins, and Snake have the head-to-head. So if you want to make playoffs as FunPlus Phoenix, this is literally a must-win, or you have to upset both EDG and Rogue Warriors while Snake lose their next 6 sets. So, I mean, the stars have to align in that regard. For this one, for what FunPlus Phoenix can control, it is their own destiny. In this set, it is by beating Snake 2-0.
Yeah, of course, currently 6-10 in the standings. Best case scenario, they go 3 wins and claim 3rd place, assuming TOP loses their final match and Snake ends up dropping down as well. Yeah. But again, it's not really in their hands anymore. This is their last chance to look for those wins. The way they're going to do that, though, is a subject of much debate. FPX, they're a team that historically plays fast. They play aggressive. They tried to bring cool into the roster to try to slow themselves down and temper their style a little bit. But when we last saw them play against Royal Never Give Up and when they went to 3 games, it was through LWX playing fast and aggressive, embracing that style that they saw success.
Yeah, so a lot of the question here is, should FPX change back?
Yes.
Because their current style, by bringing in Hachani, a Korean coach, by bringing in Cool, which is a very old school communicative jungler, heavy-handed in the shot calling for the team, he slowed the pace of the game down. FPX went from a fast action-paced team into a very slow, methodical style of roster, and whilst it was seeing some success, it was very varied. And what you will have to notice with this roster is that whilst the whole team style is slowed down, the players aren't necessarily all doing the same thing. There are some player styles, there are some player tendencies and habits that will exist and that will persist through any team style that revolves around being aggressive and going forwards and making plays. And you mentioned LWX, I also think Gimgoon's a part of that. I do believe personally that FunPlus Phoenix should play faster League of Legends and be more successful doing that if they want to improve in the short term. And I mean today. And I want to improve today.
Are you saying you want to see them play fast just so that we get through this series nice and quick, or is it more of an embracing the style thing for them?
Let's say it's embracing the style in its entirety, Dom, because I like this
I'm just giving you the opportunity there.
There's no cop-outs to be seen.
Still, though, LWX, he's a spectacular AD carry. We call him the shotgun in the LPL because if you line him up and he does get that big buckshot, he can take out big names, challenging players like Uzi. Sometimes, though, the shotgun bucks back and ends up hitting you in the face with a little bit of the kickback. His opponent, though, on the other hand, is Light, somebody who really hasn't seen a lot of success in the LPL, sitting behind Crystal when he first joined with Snake's roster. But last time we saw them, Light popped off on Tristana.
Yeah, Light's been waiting to come of age to hit 17 years old to play in the LPL for quite some time. Crystal even said that he was potentially a threat to his position, that Crystal's only advantage was experience, but now Light has found some time to play with the team. He's been able to jump onto the Rift, and that 2v2 kill you just saw was against RNG, was against Uzi and Ming, of all people as well, and they're starting to see a lot more confidence. Light working with Maestro in this particular set. So a lot of positives to be seen from the player. I think that moving forwards, you should continue to see more positives from him. Again, remember, he is actually just that young of a player. So the sky's the limit for him, and if he's able to do that against RNG, you'd expect another good performance here against the likes of FPX.
It's so much fun that we have so many spectacular AD carries in the league that are so young. iBoy, Jackie Love, Light. But to come back to the style for these teams, we were talking about FPX embracing that player style, playing more fast, playing aggressive, playing around Gimgoon and LWX. We just talked now about Light. Yep. What is the style we're going to look at for Snake? Because this is a team that they were the mad scientists. They were trying funnels. They were trying mages. They were trying dog piles. They've tried everything. Last time we saw them, it was a bit more patient and measured. What are we going to see today as we take a look at the lineups?
We'll go through the FPX roster first, then we'll get into the points. It's Gimgoon, Alex starting today, Cool, LWX, and Crisp for the side of FunPlus Phoenix.
Okay, and of course their opponents on the other side, the hometown crowd, the first arena to go live for the LPL, not based in Shanghai. It's Flandre, SOFM, Guoguo, Light, and Houdier.
Now you can see the team on your screen. To come back to the point, what style will or could Snake play? I think, honestly, looking at Snake, they have a wealth of options. They still have the potential of going for the funnel. Now, on this patch, it has been nerfed, but even in solo queue, I'm still losing to funnel compositions. It still exists. Nunu Echo is the one that I'm seeing running around everywhere. So keep your eyes potentially peeled for that possibility from Snake. But remember, Guoguo has been playing carries again. He recently took a game from RNG with a Cassiopeia. He's got that potential there for himself. whilst he can still play a facilitative style to SOFM. You've got FLICKR in the top lane. Now, FLICKR can play pretty much any champion. You want to split push, you want a team fight, you want to tank, FLICKR can do it all, and he's very successful on all of those if he is enabled. So that's the thing with Snake, right?
Yeah.
They've got every opportunity.
We even got to hear Gimgoon talking about playing against FLICKR in that top lane, saying FLICKR better have prepared, or we're going to bring the whole weight of our military down onto him by ganking that top lane over and over. As we know, FPX likes to roam around the map. But to get into these lane matchups a little bit more, which one should we be keeping our eyes on the most effectively? Is it that bottom lane, the shotgun versus the newcomer of light trying to bring him down, or should we be looking towards the jungles? Because again, this is an SOFM game.
It's definitely the jungle.
Yeah.
The reason that I say it's definitely the jungle, firstly, it's Snake playing, so it is SOFM. You're not wrong. You have to look in that position. But also for FPX, because Alex is starting today, he is the type of player, and he doesn't intend to do this, I don't think, but he's the type of player in terms of style where his first gank or his early game usually heavily dictates the outcome of the game for FunPlus Phoenix. If he gets ahead early, they just win the game. Like, they are so good with a lead at closing out, it seems, when Alex is on the roster, that they can snowball incredibly well. But when he falls behind, things don't look nearly as clean. Cool gets ganked a lot. Let's just put that out there as well. I believe he is the most ganked mid laner in the league. And then if you have Alex falling behind early because he does make pretty aggressive decisions, then it gets worse for Cool. And suddenly FPX just house on fire. They don't really know how to get out of that situation.
Yeah, we'll of course be keeping our eye on that. One of those lanes that he can affect, though, is LWX in the bottom lane. We're actually going to take a quick listen and hear his thoughts on the matchup against Snake.
Snake 这队伍打法就偏向于就是打野前面会帮助上路取得优势，然后上路再来帮助其他的路。在赛季初的时候，我们因为当时就是版本突然改变，我们准备的不够充分，输给了他们。我觉得这次我们不会再输给他们了。
Ooh, saying that they didn't prepare enough because of the game changes. Well, Snake have had 2 weeks in between their last set. There has been a long time since we've seen them. Have FPX been doing their homework today is a big question that's going to be on everybody's mind.
I mean, if nothing else, the meta has been much more solidified with a standard style. When you look at Snake's last games they played, against IG, against RNG and teams like that, they were playing AD carries, they were playing supports. It was very standard coming out of Snake in that regard. And you may not see the crazy cheese, the crazy Gouda coming out of Snake Esports anymore. But for FPX, I don't know how much they're going to be prepared for anything Snake throws, because Snake are the team to do the abstract. They are the team to do the crazy, even in a standard style of meta.
Love it when the teams are willing to, as you said so eloquently, do the crazy. As we get ready to enter into Champion Select for Game 1 between FPX and Snake. FunPlus Phoenix looking for revenge against Snake. And Snake, eternally the dark horses in the LPL, but never the bride at their own wedding, never able to take the spotlight amongst other teams. As we get into this pick and ban, let's keep an eye on those jungles and see whether or not Alex will be able to challenge SOFM, or if it'll be the other way around, as we've got ourselves a Gnar, a Kench, and a Ryze, as is fairly standard. Alex's Talia banned away as well, and Crisp's Rakan, which is also a very strong matchup. And no surprise, Aatrox has been banned away again, though we did get the chance to see one recently.
Yeah, it's interesting. Camille now up and available as well. Gimgoon is a big proponent of that pick. He loves it. Alex also potentially able to play in the jungle role. So we'll see where they go in terms of priority here, FPX. They've got one pick available. Kindred is a very good choice with the Talia gone, but just keep your eyes peeled for that Camille potentially there from still FPX. I don't know if SLFM would play it, but I know that FLICKR would.
Well, FLICKR, he's currently giving it a hover right now, almost as if he can hear us through time and space. Of course, this match happening live out of the Chongqing Battle Arena. We're coming at you from Shanghai to cover this and keep you tuned in as to what's happening as the clock winds down. Snake gets to look for that counter.
And this is a big pick for Snake in terms of enabling their team play. If they get the Camille locked in first, they have got a wealth of options, something that doesn't need to be picked early. They could do the Vladimir. They could do the Galio-Camille combo as well. They could pick themselves something super aggressive in the jungle position and take the 2v2 if they really wanted to. And they could even go Shen if they wanted to put that in the support role for Hudia and just protect the Camille on the split push. So you never really know. The options are there.
There's your Shen lock-in, Rusty. You seem to be on tap with this. Of course, we've seen FLICKR take that Shen before as well, so there is still plenty of flexibility. FPX will need to look to break that apart, as Snake are coming in with a pretty strong pick and ban so far. FPX, what do they decide to look for next?
This makes sense. Azir goes with Kindred most of the time lately in the LPL. It's about scooping them out. I'm surprised that it's not going to go there. However, that'll be LWX's champion potentially. So the Azir is still up and available. Kindred, of course, being an AD marksman, does allow you to play different things in the bottom lane, such as the mages. So I'm not too surprised by that one. And I think going into the second pick phase, FPX may still consider the Azir, and they may consider, actually it's banned. I was going to say Nars the other choice that they may have wanted, but they banned that from FLICKR.
Taking away the option from the powerful top laner of Snake on the far side, as we've got our bottom lane locked in for FPX, the Swain Alistar, though that can be flexed. And Akali is being looked at and locked in from Guoguo. Now, this is not our first Akali in the LPL. We got the chance to see it yesterday when Rookie played it against LGD.
Oh, and how pretty that was.
Oh, but Guoguo, can he compete with the caliber of play we saw yesterday? Especially now that Cool knows what he's going to be up against.
And this is so curious to see from Snake. The Akali pick for Guoguo, of all people, makes you wonder, if it's going to be him at all. I do feel like there is a crazy world where FLICKR is the one that picks it up, and you jokingly said, will SOFM play Akali over someone like Guoguo? Don't discredit that because it's Snake, but it should be Guoguo in the mid lane. He doesn't know his matchup, however, so he's just blind picked it. Seems that he may have been practicing a whole lot of the champion.
That's certainly the hope if he's taking it blind in the mid lane. Cool. Very experienced player in the LPL, very familiar with assassins and mobility, should be more than capable of trying to deal with that, obvious strengths aside. So we'll see what Cool decides to take in answer for that if they are able to suss out where that Akali is going. It's actually an Orianna ban, perhaps away from Light. If they were expecting that Akali to go somewhere else.
Most likely away from Light in the bottom lane. Of course, with all the mages banned, it's really hard to say where anyone's going anymore, especially with a side like Snake Esports, as the immediate lock-in of the Kaiser to be secured by Light. An AD carry for him in the bottom lane is always a pleasure to watch. He's got his pocket pick of the Tristana. It's not going to be seen this time around. However, speaking of pocket Tristana players, LWX is also one of those, just quietly.
Yeah. More than capable of answering back with that. Tristana loves himself some late game carries.
Mind you, we said he probably shouldn't play it, because that's too much power for someone who only flashes forwards.
Too much power. Power overwhelming, one might even say. And speaking of which, Syndra has come back into the meta. Could be a good answer against that Akali. Pressing R is a great way to just get her out, as Mundo is locked in for Gimgoon in the top lane. And here's the chance to see, we expect the Swain to go to LWX because it is a very popular pick, but Cool could take it into the mid lane if he wants, but currently is looking at Zoe and decides to lock it in. One pop assassin versus the other. And look at that! Guoguo shifts off of Cleanse to Ignite the moment the Zoe is locked in. Love it. Because he knows that's not actually going to him.
All right, there you go. So like we said, there's a potential. We'll wait for the lock-in to be secured, but there is always a chance that it goes to FLICKR. He is the player. He is the assassin guy. He's the one who'll bring out something crazy in this team. Guoguo, whilst he's going to be on a similar assassin himself, it's a very different style. It's much more of the conventional mage that can assassinate people, opposed to the assassin that is also conversely a mage. So for the side of Snake, that composition, let me tell you something about that composition. That's not a lot of tankiness. That's not a lot of just pure team fighting strength. It's not a Wombo, it's not a 5v5, but oh my god, do they have damage in that composition. There's just so much damage.
It absolutely hurts. It also split pushes remarkably well, which is something that FPX have struggled with somewhat in the past. And it has a lot of pick potential. If FPX ever find themselves split up across the rift, it's very easy for an Akali or a LeBlanc to appear out of the darkness.
And they're hard to hit at that. So all of these assassins, all these split push threats that are available, very hard to hit, very hard to deal with, and lane assignments can be everywhere for Snake. Not just 1-3-1s, which are possible, but 2-3-0s. They could do whatever they please, but they still need to get ahead early for that composition to work. And then you look at their opponents. They're against a Swain, they're against a Zoe, they're against people that can either soak the assassins or push the assassins in, put them under pressure, and really put the ball into the SOFM court to make it work. That was very good timing, thank you. That was lovely timing.
Absolutely lovely. As the Snake fans have packed the Chongqing Arena to cheer on their hometown heroes of Snake. This is one of the most passionate arenas of all of the different teams all over China. And Snake, their playoff lives are on the line. From here on out, it's only going to get more difficult as they approach that final playoff spot. As we enter into this game 1 between FunPlus, Phoenix, and Snake, FPX again looking for revenge from the last time that they played against Snake in this arena, and Snake trying to maintain that they are the apex predator within the Snake pit.
Now what's on the line for both of these teams for certain, and it all does come down to this first game if they can really get the ball rolling. I swear that's a team manager. There's no RNG chance. I feel like every time I've heard FPX chant now, similar to Rogue Warriors where they've got the leader of the fan club chants now every time, I think the same thing's happening for FPX, traveling around trying to win them, which is why I say maybe the JD effect of a manager.
Oh, 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 uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh! Oh, pulls him back in.
Almost
It's going to be 1-2 turret shots. Uj solo. Crisp is thinking about it. He's got Ignite. But that's first blood to Snake.
It was first blood, but it was to Houdier, and he used both summoner spells for that. You take those. That is definitely a good trade. Swain's going to come to lane a bit late. If he's going to leash, he'll be a bit delayed. So it's the small details that also start to add up. However, Houdier now runs the risk of being killed very early. So you'll see early vision, no doubt, placed by Snake to compensate for exactly that.
And that is going to be a bit of a slower start for FPX, as suddenly that bottom lane, that late game scaling Kaisa, is going to provide a lot of opportunity, and SOFM is already heading towards that top half of the map, knowing he is against that Kindred. Looks like there's no ping onto him, though he did walk within the circle of vision, steps up and places a ward onto Alex, so the two of them see each other. They're playing a coin flip for this Scuttle Crab. Let's see which one is going to end up being the marked one, as Alex, he's stepping up, but the mark is on the bottom Scuttle Crab, and Alex is still going to be able to take the top one.
Really like that from Alex. Now look at where SOFM still is for the record. We are looking at bottom lane, but on that minimap, hovering mid lane. So perhaps expecting Alex to go from Scuttle straight to mid, or wanting to use a level 2 LeBlanc who may even have those chains up to look for potential kills. Alex is being the aggressor, however, and I really like this change of style from him. Pretty much immediately after what happens in bottom lane. He goes, well, I'm not going down to that bottom lane, not going to make a gank. Instead, I will bring SOFM to me, who, by the way, is wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, Gorgo, oh, he gets the Ignite. SOFM walks in as Cool just tries to get some damage back on in this mid lane, as Sleepy Trouble Bubble will land. And SOFM might be regretting ganking that mid lane.
I think he might be regretting waiting for 30 seconds to get the flash from Cool. Of course, I don't know if they had vision or not, Cool, but it was a very respectful, very early flash. Gorgor still has control of the lane. Now, we get a second to look towards top lane. Firstly, very similar skin to Kindred that Akali is running right now. They look the same.
Oh, Flandre just turning and walking away. I don't believe he saw Alex there. There was no ping as, oh man, SOFM is thinking of affecting this mid lane once again.
That hurts is clear. You're not going to have the hook shots, not going to stun in an AoE and deal AoE damage to the Raptor camp, which is what he's currently taking. So it's going to slow him down just that little bit more. Now back towards the top lane. Whilst I was comparing skins, I also noted that there was Electrocute, so he's gone towards the burst style of runes, which makes a lot of sense. I don't think Akali's go anything other than Electrocute in top or in mid lane, unless they really want to cheese something up, and he has committed himself to the teleport, so a little bit less kill threat. You know, the Talon style, having Ignite when you can proc Electrocute super early and super easily is always possible for Akali's in mid lane. The top Akali keeps the teleport.
Oh yeah, especially against that Mundo. That kill threat is going to be dampened as the course of the game goes on, and Mundo becomes that inevitable Mundo that we know and love, especially considering it is Gimgoon who is so talented on the champion.
Yeah, good CS lead for him as well this early into the game, considering it's only 4 minutes in. That's more than a full wave in advantage.
10 full CS so far as Alex, he's still hovering on this side of the map to try and keep Gimgoon safe and controlling that top half of the map entirely. During the interview that we heard with Alex just before the game, he was saying that Snake like to play through their top lane. They like to unlock Flandre and then use that Flandre to affect the mid and bottom lane. Perhaps this could be a bit of over-indexing from Alex to try to compensate in that regard.
I don't think it's over-indexing. I think, well, firstly, Snake aren't playing towards that side of the map at all. The way that Alex has played is about denying SOFM top side of the map and forcing vertical jungling. But SOFM didn't respond by clearing camps. He responded by looking for a gank. But in the mid lane, not in the top lane. So the style shift there from Snake is notable. For FPX, I think they're just playing good, solid League of Legends. A CS advantage for a Kindred through the jungle role, a CS advantage for top lane based off the areas of the map that they're hovering. And for the bottom side, because LWX died early and there's no summoners from Snake, I mean, there's always a chance they go down there. But Snake have to respect if they don't see anybody regardless and back away. So they're able to hold on, but still there'll be a CS advantage for Light.
That's starting to open up in that bottom lane. 14 so far as he looks for additional items. Still, though, we can see SOFM is hovering down here. Alex finally gets to the bottom half of the map, more than having given up that first scuttle, but the second one spawns, and he has brought Crisp with him. LWX is hovering bottom to hold that wave as he's completed his own first recall, and that's Alex taking that scuttle crab. So timely rotation from FPX gets them to cover that half of the map in time, and even Gimgoon's pulling back and playing defensive. So even though we might not be seeing FPX playing the slow style that Cool brought to the roster, they're still showing the fundamentals they learned from that by communicating across the map and playing defensive when they need to.
Yeah, if there's one thing that Snake can do that you're seeing FPX also enact here, it's playing around where their jungler is. Strong and weak sides of the map, acknowledging that. Not wanting to get ganked, not wanting to die when you're on the weak side. Currently, Snake on their strong side, Gimgoon, you mentioned, is playing defensively, but the dive is potentially on here.
That's a lot of harass onto Gimgoon. The perfect execution. Look at that. FLICKR dives in and finds himself a kill.
And if you're a Kali fan, you know that level 6 is when it comes online. The amount of burst you get from that R2 is absolutely insane. So they go towards the dive top side. Very well executed coming out of FLICKR's mid.
Calm down. Ignite. Yeah, Gorgo's just walking it back as the bubble will hit a clone. Gorgo's still holding on to his own Ignite, as Cool just happy to drop his own to take that lane harass.
But things have started off really well here for the side of Snake overall. Whilst it's only 2-0 in kills, Akali having one is always going to be a very big deal. Enabling the compositional strategy that they have built for themselves through drafts is the most important part here. If they fall behind, they get pushed in, they will struggle. And we look towards top side. All it takes is that second R from FLICKR, and you can burst your opponents down with that base damage that it deals.
Yeah, the second tick of perfect execution is just so strong.
Also between Camille and Akali, tower diving is a breeze.
Oh yeah,
they
you've
can
got
both
the
reset aggro.
Hextech Ultimatum reset and the Twilight Shroud reset. That's an absolute pain to deal with. Yes. No amount of vision or spotting that in advance can really nullify those dives.
Having the numbers there.
Yeah, tracking
to match
the enemy
it all. You want to prevent the dive if people are low on health. Good little trade.
Light gets pulled in. I believe he got knocked out of the Visions of Empire as LWX is going to start harassing Houdier on the back of this. As the wave crashes in, looks like LWX has been able to catch up to the CS advantage of Light as it was just a wave push. Yep. And not a full-on CS advantage, though we're still seeing the first assist of the game going over to Light, which should help him build just a bit faster.
And you'll always notice when it comes to wave control in these strong and weak side of the maps when they ebb and flow is that big waves stack and CS leads grow, and then it's all completely caught up. But what you do lose during that, whilst it's caught up, is damage on the turret. So that's one thing that we'll have to continue to keep stock of here if they're able to stand in front and body the minions before they can reach the turret. You'll find that both teams will be in relatively good stead just scaling up towards those first items, but if you make the mistake of letting it crash if the opponents force that on you with their jungler being around, then suddenly turrets run the threat of dying, and then the map can actually open up for a team play cross-map.
And that's where we'll be looking towards SOFM and Alex to open up those dives, to open up the harass onto those turrets to try and open things out. Because for now, it looks like everyone's content to just sit for that standard laning phase. I'm sure SOFM is quite happy with that as he gets the chance to look bottom over and again.
That was
even
curious.
Towards that mid lane and top lane.
Have you noticed that? But SOFM was going bottom lane just to clear the control ward and have some presence. Then as he went to go clear it,
he saw the Gromp
replaced
spawn.
It.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just didn't get a chance to even hit the ward. It was just moved to the tri-bush in front of his eyes.
You've never done that? I've done that.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I actually let them hit it first, though. You give them a taste.
And then you drop another control ward to deny the 75 gold.
That's the one. And it's not always worth it for you. But in this case, you replace it in the tri-bush. However, that's about to get cleared potentially.
Oh, that's a flash from SOFM. They're trying to submarine in. And ooh, SOFM is still tanking. Forced to leap out of this.
Got him.
Dies as Cool steps forward. Alex gets some good harass with those dancing arrows, and suddenly Snake's dive backfires.
And that was a really big moment for Snake. If they were able to get that dive off, use the Shen, use the Camille combo, go forwards, then things would look fantastic for them. But Cool able to navigate it. Alex able to be nearby just in the nick of time as well. And suddenly FPX, they get the push, they get the defusal, and they get ultimates out of their respective opponents. And good night.
Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but no Battle Star for max range. Just means that Guogol misses one minion. And FPX find themselves getting onto the board off the back of Cool with that Zoe in the mid lane. Starting to try and open things up for his team, taking a look at the gold. He's now 400 ahead of his opponent. That Akali a happy 500, 600 gold ahead, as FLICKR is now the one with the CS advantage up top. And in the bottom, it's still close to even, despite the assist going to Light.
Now the big win here for FPX, we'll get to see this play again. The counter, great early flash from Cool. Of course, he's going to be able to pick up a flash on the backside as Hudia attempts to body block. The turret is always going to be targeting him. So just dice, and we're cutting back to top side for, I assumed it was going to be a dive, but there's no jungler nearby. Now, the thing that you get from that counterplay from FPX is not just that they quell the threat of their opponents, that they get momentum somewhere. They actually set up their mid laner to be fed. And the one thing we said prior to this set starting is that Alex and Cool, usually you live or die by their early game performances, and Cool is now 1-0, not 0-1. So things could go very well for FPX as a result of that.
We'll absolutely keep an eye on Cool's performance, as he has tried to be the primary carry for the team in the past and not succeed. This is a struggle that he went with on LGD, a struggle that he went with on OMG, and now he finds himself on FPX, trying to do the exact same thing. And look at the dive presence from this Akali as stopwatch is used. FLICKR is taking hits, but just dives it. 5-point strike goes sideways. Gimgoon's got the hook, but there's SOFM following up. Boneplating denies it. Hextech ultimatum as SOFM takes the hits. Gimgoon looks for the heal, and SOFM survives. Another dive for Snake.
Great calculations actually from SOFM. Cool also just nearby, maybe looking for the long distance bubble, but he's not going to get it, so just going to catch the wave. And Snake, that was very aggressive from FLICKR, and namely from SOFM. I didn't think he'd even get the kill. Did not think he'd have enough damage, but that challenging smite just ticks over enough in the end. He's going to contribute to getting that third kill on the board for Snake. And you can see the pressure FLICKR has. You're looking at a full item, maybe 2 for Gimgoon before things get better. Level 11 is a big point that you'll need to break and survive through all the bursts, because, oh my god, FLICKR is coming online.
Fully completed Gunblade, 1-0 and 1. And like you said, the dive threat of that combo is what pays off massively. Twilight Shroud and the 5-point strike to clear out minion wave means that this top lane Akali is starting to open things up, and it's exactly as LWX predicted. It's SOFM playing ganks in the top lane to unlock FLICKR, who's looking to take that first brick, it looks like.
I mean, it's not shocking revelation. Oh no, that's a full reset. You're wasting time, bro. What's going on?
Even SOFM has the timing down as he waits for it to get back in. That time waste is going to allow Alex to turn towards the Rift Herald, though.
I will say that, you know, it's not a giant shock that LWX is correct when Snake have drafted Akali Camille. Yeah. Like, that to me screams, I'm going to focus top lane, and that's not shocking news to anyone. It's not that, you know, Gimgoon could survive in those fights either. That's the crazy thing. He actually held his own decently in the one-on-one. He almost outplayed FLICKR, forced a summoner spell out of the Akali, and then at the same time almost took out SOFM during the trade. So I feel like he played fine. It's just that there's so much dive threat between the champions they've picked that really counterplay's limited.
Oh, Cool takes a big hit as Rift Herald is summoned immediately into the mid lane, looking to break down this mid-tier 1 turret and unlock that Zoe. Gorgo steps up, and the charge will go off. Full health, and the mid-tier 1 goes down. Cool has now been opened up just a little bit more.
It's a lot more, actually, and it's not just a gold value or anything that they get for the first turret, it's the fact that he is unlocked on the map. So by having that mid lane broken, and namely, of course, by him being Zoe with that early kill, he can go to side lanes. Zoe in side lanes is the scariest thing in League of Legends, because there are just so many walls for a bubble to come flying from when you don't expect it.
But that does mean on the opposite side, Gimgoon is starting to respect FLICKR. He's backing away, and while it's not first brick, FLICKR is fully online with that Gunblade. We've already seen what one Big Akali can do yesterday. Now we might get the chance to see the same thing as Light is trying to get a good trade onto LWX. Even lands the Void Seeker.
He does. He also has his Storm Razor as hang on.
Look at that. That's the Stand United Hextech ultimatum. Finds Cool as he tries to flash back but gets pursued. Lands Respite, stalls it out. Flandre's diving Alex in the back, forcing him to go away. Gimgoon trying to retreat out of this, and Flandre did use the perfect execution.
Cool's alive.
Out of the burst. Cool still surviving as he's able to get one. Gimgoon finds the kill. They trade. Gorgo finally slams down for another as LWX gets a kill with Gimgoon. And Snake are being turned around as Alex somehow survives the Akali burst. SOFM is forced to run for his life and will survive.
They get the flash out of SOFM, but at the end of the day, it's just a 2-for-1 trade. Cool. Whilst he goes down, he lived for like 10 whole seconds. I was just closely watching the Zoe in that one. He was meant to be the first person dead. That was the one they engaged on in the first place. But you'll see in the replay, Cool, very cool-headed, actually saves the stopwatch for such a long amount of time and just immediately flashes towards his team in the Kindred ultimate. So that's the big thing here. Note that he survives through, and SLFM and Snake's attention shifts away from him to Alex. They should have killed Cool, but because he saves the stopwatch, he gets away. They have to flash, they have to use resources, and eventually they lock him down, but the cost and the time expended in that was just so high that they're able to trade back FPX. Really well navigated from Alex and Cool.
And that does get a lot of gold onto Gimgoon, as he was the one who picked up those 2 kills in that trade, that 1 for 2, which should equalize a bit of that difference between the Akali and Mundo, who will be looking to continue to split push over the course of this game. Still no completed items just yet for Gimgoon, but hey, the closer you can get to surviving her burst, the happier you're going to be.
And it's not just Akali's burst you'll be surviving then. You know, it's Gorgo's burst
long,
potentially also coming into those side lanes. The one risk would then be SOFM. However, he has rushed himself a Sunfire, not any forms of magic resistance, which is okay against the Akali, but it's better against SOFM. It also gives him some tanky wave clear, which is what he really wants to achieve from that first item. So Gimgoon feeling cozy in that top side of the map now, feeling a bit better about himself. But I would still say that Flandre is the controller of that top lane. He is conducting the top train.
He is the conductor of the top train. As that's 32 CS ahead for Flandre after that lane passes out. And already you can see the roam, the threat that brings. Cool with no flash. Gets 3-man dove.
Easy pickings.
Yeah.
Very easy pickings. Cool with no flash, no stopwatch. I mean, what's he going to do? He's just going to die. And I mean, the real problem there is that he's a bit overextended trying to put some aggressive trades off, but that's just Zoe things for the most part. They always dash forwards, and that's the one thing that kills them in the end. So well done from Snake, having all the mobility of those assassins to catch him in where he thought was a safe position. Definitely was not.
Now we're looking at Snake trying to convert off of that by setting up vision around the Ocean Dragon. The first one was taken by Alex earlier, as we just see the harass, the massive damage done. Still sidesteps the Ethereal Chain.
Does his best.
But you can't sidestep that Hextech ultimatum. Now the Dragon has spawned, and Flandre with that teleport, he pushes in a wave and starts trekking towards the bottom, as it looks like FPX want to fight for this.
FPX have got their ultimates up. They have got the capabilities of a 5v5 if they choose. And you can tell because of that confidence that Snake aren't even in the area prepared. Snake had set up vision just prior to that replay. There were control wards. Wards around the objective, but FPX just very cleanly take it, very clinically remove that one as Snake didn't have teleport on Flandre.
Yeah.
It's only coming up as we speak.
I mean, look at where SOFM is right now. He is so deep into that top side jungle. I believe he's been spotted by the ward that is just above blue buff, but he was hoping that perhaps someone would be up here trying to defend against the Akali so that they could dive and open the map even more. This is a very clear game plan from Snake.
I mean, that's a fair expectation too, right? It's going to take 2 people to deal with Flandre if they want to actually contend with him right now. Because of the Hextech Gunblade completed, whilst it's not a tanky item, what it provides is an abundance of health return on a minion wave. You've got Akali's Q above 180 energy, it gives health back, and then you put the Gunblade with it, suddenly you've got most of your health back in a single minion wave. So that's the hard part here of being the Mundo. If you can't actually step up and body the Akali out, then she pushes the wave and she's free. In this case, it's not to push, it's to roam.
Try to unlock and shut down Cool, who, again, this was first brick. This was Rift Herald used in this middle turret to try to open up the map and unlock Cool. We saw one roam to the top lane that was immediately stymied by Snake countering that with a team fight in that tri-bush. And suddenly Cool seems to be a lot more locked down, especially considering that Flandre is constantly hovering around that lane in between every wave. But now we finally got ourselves a lane swap out of Snake. They might be trying to open up another turret.
This game's a great example of something for me. Now, we said this a little bit earlier, but Cool is the most ganked player, I believe, in the LPL, not just out of the mid laners. If you take that into consideration, sooner or later, people are going to cotton onto the strategy. They're going to be like, well, everyone's ganking Cool, but it's working. So why wouldn't we gank Cool? And if you're Snake, it's still working.
Yeah.
So sooner or later, Cool's got to change something, or FPX have to change something to actually, cater to that fact. If teams continue to gank you, then just pick a winning 2v2 or pick a winning 3v3, depending on where the teams are strong. In this case, you've got a Zoe who has a lot of wave clear and most likely will be pushing a LeBlanc in. As a result of that, though,
there's no way they dive him. SOFM is still waiting there for the next minion wave. He is hovering aggressively on top of Gimgoon.
I mean, what's to stop them from diving?
He's a Mundo? He's level 13? He's got a Spectre's Cowl?
All correct.
I'm hoping that's enough, but he actually walks face first into SOFM to use the ward and force him back, and that will finally get SOFM out of there. Meanwhile, FPX are using this opportunity to push into the mid lane. They've got a wave shoved all the way up, and they're using dancing arrows to get LWX to this mid-tier 2. Light with no one to stand in front of him.
Yeah, no safe wave clear either from the Kaiser. Nice little pick there onto Hudia. Not going to result in anything. Now, Light being Kaiser against an Alistar is the worst experience because he'll just engage on you if you ever step up to clear the wave. So there's no safety net there for Snake in the 1-3-1. The 3 is not feeling too comfortable, and that's the real risk of their composition. You've seen the strengths. You've seen what an Akali can do. You've seen what an Akali can do with a LeBlanc and assassinating people, especially when you include Camille to lock them down for the guaranteed damage to connect. But how are they going to deal with FPX when they A-Ram? How are they going to deal with FPX when they 5v5 and group up in a single lane? And can they successfully navigate that?
Either we're about to find an answer or we're going to see that strategy be successful as the mid-tier 2 is broken down. FPX break it open. They're only 2,000 gold behind Snake right now, closer to 1.5. As Snake are just up in kills, but the turret advantage is to FPX, and that next dragon is a mountain. Now, Snake have been well known for their team fights in the past, especially their ability to flank and collapse from multiple directions. They've got a LeBlanc and a Kali who has been unlocked and is 1,000 gold ahead of her lane opponent, but they need to get to the point where those flanks can actually be effective at assassinating backline targets. And you already pointed it out in Champions like Rusty, those backline targets are a Swain and a Zoe who's very nimble and a Kindred who has Lamb's Respite. It's certainly going to be a challenge.
I think the way that you actually navigate this is by removing the front-to-back aspects of the game. You don't actually want to play stand in the middle and just take the 5v5 as they clash in that middle lane. I do think you want to have not just flanks. You want to go all in on the flank style. You want to go for picks first and foremost because your composition will be better at picks than team fighting. But if you have to team fight, you do not put 3 people in the front unless you've got 2 people on either side of the flanks and you just ruin the lives of FPX and their shot calling. Because if they ever have a Mundo standing in front, if they ever have a Kindred standing next to the Zoe dealing damage, then that's just best case scenario, and I don't see a way where Snake win that if everything goes according to plan.
Isn't that the trade-off with the Akali, though? Keeping the Akali in a side lane to make sure Mundo can never join into a fight elsewhere as, whoop, Guoguo lands the chains. Look at the electrocute. That's a stopwatch used. LWX still has Flash, uses Demonic Ascension, stands his ground, and chases it away. Flashes over the wall. Stand United is a shield that keeps Guoguo alive. As LWX, again, he's the shotgun. Sometimes he fires and pulls off the unexpected, but sometimes the shotgun bucks back.
That was expected, though. He flashed forwards. That's the only direction he knows how to flash. At LWX, he went for the play. Now, at the same time, you have to give credit to Hudia for a sick ultimate on that Shen.
Oh, yeah.
The timing was immaculate, and he's able to keep his mid laner alive. SOFM.
Oh, SOFM, that's the Ignite, and the Spell Thieves tries to dodge it, gets himself a spell shield, but it's the auto attacks from Crisp that lock down the kill.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he was just destined to die. No Shen to save you this time. Hudia's using his resources on other members of the team. Flandre goes directly up on that explosive plant. Now he's going to try and pressure himself around the dragon, but with no jungler, I really don't think they can.
And that's FPX capitalizing on some unexpected weakness from Snake. LWX showing that, hey, I'm not a squishy member to be assassinated. I can fight back. And even though I will die, I will pull enough resources that my team can make something of it elsewhere on the map. For now, that's a kill onto SOFM and that Mountain Dragon, but we're 25 minutes into the game. It's 10 minutes until Elder Dragon and Baron is already up. The stakes of Snake making mistakes are rising.
Certainly the case. Of course, with mid lane Outer still standing, however, from FPX, they've got a very good point to pivot from. They've got a big Bastion in that middle lane they can stand behind, and that does unlock a lot of the Baron control regarding vision through that mid lane priority. So that access is still there for them, and even Gimgoon starting to scale up with that Spirit Visage done. Look at the aggression coming out of him. And FLICKR's role is not going to be a split pusher that takes turrets in the face of a Mundo. They want to really get that 1-3-1 ball rolling. That does involve, however, someone having to deal with the Mundo. And FLICKR has more sustain than that of Gorgor, so that's usually going to be the lane assignments. If Baron is a point of focus, LeBlanc will be top lane, then you'll have FLICKR bottom lane, just soaking and absorbing the Mundo pressure.
Already we're starting to see that matchup turn on its head. No longer is FLICKR just aggressing onto Gimgoon and taking an advantage. The Spirit's Visage Sunfire starting to pay off. Still down about 40 CS, but he is keeping the attention of that Akali. And if Akali can't assassinate Mundo and is busy catching minions, that's Akali not assassinating other members. LWX, he's probably pretty happy about that. So too is Cool. As you can see, he's got himself the Banshee's Veil to try and keep himself safe against the LeBlanc. And LWX, as I said, he's got the Zanyas to try and deal with that on the far side of the map. Snake's options are starting to become a little bit limited, as they are sticking to this 1-3-1 right now, but they're getting pushed in.
You know, the more that I look at Snake's composition, the more I'm just excited to see how they make it work. Because surely this has been a practice composition, right? This is not something you just decide to debut on the main stage without practice backstage. You've got an Akali, you've got a Camille, you've got a LeBlanc, all very good at diving. But then also when you include the bottom lane, Snake technically have no backline. That's all frontline, but they're all backline champions that are playing frontline in terms of style. You know, they've got assassins that'll just try and pick flanks off. That's not really a frontliner, but they'll be in the enemy backlines. You've got a Kaiser that goes from her own backline to your backline to assassinate people. And with that many assassins, the only shield that they have is a Shen. I think Hudia actually has the hardest job in League of Legends.
Oh, and that's the engage from Chris. Pextech ultimatum from SOFM as they're trying to walk it off. Spirit's Refuge for a slow and Visions of Empire. SOFM gets the Stand United at melee range and makes it over the wall, but the shield keeps him alive. Crisp is chasing and still finds the kill. Now Light is trying to run this around as Guoguo will escort him away. A stopwatch and FPX find an assassination against the assassin.
So clean from Crisp as well on this Alistar. Finds the kills. The stopwatch timing was incredible. He's able to walk away with FPX there to reinforce him. Now the Baron does present itself. Mundo takes no damage from this. And this is actually on here for FunPlus Phoenix. SOFM dead. Means that Snake don't want to just steal it, they want to push them away. I don't think they can push a Mundo anywhere.
Ujier, he's got himself a flash shadow dash. There's the engage. Light goes in, but Baron picked up by FPX. The fight turns into an all-out brawl. Lamb's Respite gets everyone on the pit. Guoguo looks for re-entry, but LWX is fully stacked up. He starts to get some burst as FLICKR steps forward, trying to find an assassination, but is forced to. Zanyas and Snake have lost this fight just like they've lost the Baron.
And with the Baron online for FPX after a fantastic team fight for them, you really start to wonder for Snake's composition. Things starting to look very dire now, but for FunPlus Phoenix, all lights are green for them. They can run anywhere they want. They can actually force the 5v5 now. They can force what their composition really wants to do as a result of having that Baron buff. Things looking very promising for them in game one.
Now we get to take a look at that replay once again. FLICKR tries to go in and find the assassination, but gets knocked up in mid-air.
Gorgor gets put to sleep by a Zoe before the fight even starts, and he W's in anyway. Light uses his ultimate to get into the pit to try and steal the Baron, and FLICKR, of course, with all of these assassins there, they threw everything in the kitchen sink into the pit against their opponents. But like we mentioned, I mean, it's a Swain, it's an Alistar, it's a Mundo. You want to take a battle in a small, confined pit like the Baron area? I think they welcome that with open arms.
And then we did see Snake stick to their strategy of flanking from multiple directions. It just wasn't quite synced up at the exact same time. There's a lot of that burst from the Akali was denied by Crisp. Light tried to go in, but immediately the Lamb's Respite denies any Kaisa burst damage with her own plasma. And now FPX, they've got momentum in this matchup. The mid-tier 2 is already broken. They're immediately following a wave to the top tier 2 as Gimgoon with his Warmogs pushes forward and starts to open up. It's no longer a 1-3-1 strategy for Snake. If they split themselves up, FPX are just going to death ball right over them.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what FPX should continue to do. There's no banner of command, so it's just going to be a brute force method here, but for a Mundo, for an Alistar, I think that's a pretty comfortable spot for them to be.
They're actually pushing right onto the turret. No hesitation to break it down. Light's trying to do some damage, but he can barely tickle through that Mundo's health bar. The inhibitor goes down in merely 60 seconds since they get back onto the map, pushing a single wave all the way up.
Yeah, I mean, Snake really are just throwing tickle cannons at their opponent. The feathers don't actually really hurt the Mundo. He's not that ticklish.
Yeah.
He's going to go towards mid lane next. Bottom lane has not been set up. They are not trying to force all of the side lanes in at the same time. FPX, I still prefer what they are currently doing. It is just purely grouping up as a 5 and saying, your assassin composition, I mean, bring it on. If you think you can take the 5v5, then come at us, because we don't think you can. And if you don't, we're just going to take the base. And here they go.
In the back, that's the Stand United. Hextech Ultimatum. He's looking for Cool. Flandre tries to get in there, but they're on top of each other. Flash from Cool to get over the pit as Flandre gets slept. He's looking for some burst, but the Lamb's Respite. He goes back in onto it, but it's one man against the world. There's only so much he can do. Guoguo gets in, manages to finally find the assassination as Flandre goes golden. He's still kiting this out. Finally, Light joins the fight and is able to bring it down, but Gimgoon has not been stopped. He has not been touched, and he is happy at full health. Flashes the wall to chase the Kai'Sa. A headbutt to send her back to the base. It's actually a trophy, but at this point it doesn't matter as FPX are still pushing with the Baron.
And congratulations to Snake, you assassinated the only 2 members of FPX's roster that can be assassinated. The other 3 are still alive, and they are so far ahead that they will win the team fight by themselves as necessary. I really feel like at the current state of this game, 30 minutes in, that's a potential 3v5 that they may even win. Ooh. And they are still looking for kill threat onto Guoguo. These fragile assassins, they have met their match.
It's a scary thing to go face-to-face with a Mundo, especially when you're a mage, but Guoguo tries to make it happen and pays the price with his health bar. As 31.5 minutes in, FPX, they are 7 turrets to 1 right now and are looking to close this match out against Snake.
Even gone for these Shirelias on Crisp on the Alistar. It's not exactly your conventional tank Alistar item. It's not quite a righteous glory, but he's gone for it. He's going to do a lot more damage with it. I like that.
Certainly should help at least a little bit. He's already picked up a few kills for himself. 2, 1, and 5.
If it's a bit cheaper, just a bit easier to purchase. And when you're snowballing this hard, any item that you can get is usually a good item. It's the point in the game where often people will just grab elixirs because they can, and you know the game's going to end in the next 5 minutes. That's how you treat it if you're at FPX. The Snake requires the perfect teamfight execution with a comp that doesn't do that. So miracles required for the Snake roster.
And that is fairly appropriate for FPX, considering their kill distribution. There's no single carry for this roster. It's FPX outplaying Snake by playing against their composition and maneuvering in such a way that any assassin's advantages that Snake were able to open up are effectively denied. And off of this, they're able to push and break down the bottom tier 2. Guoguo tries to step up to the minion wave. Doesn't take too much damage as a result of clearing it, but LWX is still working down the turret. You can take the LWX off the marksman, but you can't take the marksman out of LWX as he's doing his job.
Yeah, he's going to frontline, and he can do that because he's on the Swain. They've drafted LWX to his strengths. There's definitely a positive to look towards here. Now continuing to push forward. You're looking for the never move or the sleepy trouble bubble by the connector on.
Flandre, he gets slept as SOFM goes in. There's no follow-up. Finally, he tries to dive, getting into the back, but Crisp denies it. Alex is there, cool, zoning from the distance. The flash from Flandre, and he can't even get the kill. Meanwhile, the rest of Snake are falling to pieces as it's a double kill to Alex as they chase it down. The never move on to Hudye. 4 members are already dead. The double kill and the thumbs up from LWX as FPX turn onto the Nexus and take it down, winning game number 1 against Snake.
3 kills for Alex, 2 for Gimgoon, and FPX as a team are able to just demolish their opponents, dismantle them piece by piece with a stock standard composition and a super basic style that they execute on cleanly whenever they get those leads. That's what we expect from FunPlus Phoenix, but they get the leads this time, and that's what the difference really becomes.
As you see, they make their way backstage very quickly in between these matches. It is all business for FPX, as again, they are looking for revenge. The last time these two teams played, it was a 2-0 for Snake as they employed a double funnel strategy in Game 1 and Game 2 to tear them apart, but it's FPX playing, as you said, stock standard in that 33-minute win that simply dissects Snake's composition and prevents it from biting apart, defanging it, if you will.
Yeah, not really a chance for Snake to do anything once it's scaled up in items. Usually 2 items, maybe 3 was the breakpoint required, even if the game was dead even. I feel like FPX would have probably outscaled their opponents. And this for me, a lot of this, I will say, comes down to draft woes, perhaps, for Snake. They were ahead for 24 odd minutes of the game, but it's not the type of composition that would just immediately snowball to victory. You know, that's the thing that I'm looking at here for Snake. And I think there are a lot of ways that they could have fixed their draft. That's the thing that I'm always going to bring this one back to, and we said it during the draft phase. That mid laner could have been a Galio. They could have had a Camille Galio combo, which would have been very enabling with the Shen. They could have perhaps foregone the Talia ban, instead banned the Kindred, because they're playing Assassins, and you give them the anti-assassination champion in the draft, whereas Talia can die, Kindred can press R. So I think, honestly, looking at the draft from Snake, if they're going to play an Akali and they're going to put it top lane, you cannot go for a LeBlanc in the mid lane as a later rotation pick. You have to pick something else.
Yeah, and I think this is where, again, we have to commend FPX for identifying the composition of Snake and effectively nullifying it. Because, as we said, Snake were the ones running with the advantage for 24 minutes in the game. It was... It's not just like the solo queue conundrum. It's not just picking a Yasuo and getting kills in lane and winning the game as a result of that. It's what you do with that Yasuo. It's how you maneuver that advantage around the map. And Snake were effectively stymied by FPX at all turns. Yes, they dived. Yes, they picked up kills. They only took a single turret that entire time, and that was off of Flandre getting 2 dive kills onto Gimgoon.
And there's not much that Gimgoon can do about that one. And that's the thing, right? You want to give credit to FPX, and I fully agree, but it's in the area of denying their opponents, but playing passively to deny them. So we mentioned this in the game as well, but acknowledging where they're strong, playing towards that spot in the game, but acknowledging where they're weak and avoiding that area where possible. So losing only 1 turret whilst playing on a weak side of the map, I mean, that's pretty impressive from them, honestly, overall, when you know full well that a Camille and an Akali can dive everywhere on the Rift. But then you have to bring it back to Snake, because they still, with those leads, wasted a lot of time. Level 2 from the Camille, once the Kindred came over and met him, clearly Gorgor said, I can't fight this, I can't rotate. Cool will be there first on the Zoe. So he backs away, and his response as SOFM is to wait for 30 seconds, give it a how do you do, just sit in the bush, and nothing happens. And then he just goes through the lane visible, loses most of his health with a botched gank that wasn't really a gank at all, it was just an early flash burn.
And tries to take a second pass.
Yeah, tries to go for the scuttle, comes back again, doesn't get what he's after, then wastes spells and goes to the Raptors. And overall, this is a lot of time that he's spending with very limited success, not able to get kills, where Alex was just hard farming, just having a great time on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, and again, this is the comparison between the two. Of course, we've got a replay of that mid lane team fight. That was what really broke the game open at this point. You got to see the assassination potential. This was the last call for Snake to try to break this game open, but it really was a death ball that they were trying to dissect and had no success in doing.
And what I will say for Snake is that they knew they were destined to lose this game. They were doomed. So they tried to go on these very aggressive, super all-in engages, and they thought that the best way they could navigate that was a Camille Shen type of combo. And they're absolutely right. That was probably the only option they had. If they didn't do something desperate, the game was just going to slowly lose around them anyway. And I do commend Snake for taking that decision. The problems are always leading up to that. Like, how did we end up in this spot? Was it the draft problems? I think personally were definitely a thing that they should be exploring. And even past the draft, the play patterns were a bit aggressive, spending too much time. And, you know, credit to FPX, but at the same time, you're exploring that. And then at the end of the game, you're like, that's correct from Snake. That is correct. It's just everything before it.
Again, LWX will take our MVP for FPX as they come into this match very prepared. He gets to play that aggressive style. He gets to play that frontline marksman on this Swain, doing 30% of his team's damage, and more than happy to just pop the ultimate and sit on top of the Lamb's Respite.
Only the one mistake to be seen from LWX, that super aggressive flash on the top side after the attempted trade against the LeBlanc was there. But really, at the same time, just didn't think about the Shen ultimate. So, you know, credit to LWX, I think he had a very good game. He's the type of player that if you give him a Swain, that's right in his wheelhouse. You give him the Karthus, why not? Because that's how he's going to play anyway. So it's good to see them draft around what is a strength of LWX at certain times, in that he will be aggressive and he'll make the decisions that others will not.
And it's so funny that before the game, we were talking about the style differences between the two teams, how when FPX sees success, it's playing to their players. It's playing to those styles. Well, those styles seem to be showing some uncharacteristic experience after having played around cool, playing more passive lanes, allowing their jungle to try and counter gank and keep themselves safe against this strategy. Could we be seeing a new evolution of FPX here as we get to playoffs?
I wonder how much of that is actually, playing more respectful or being more defensive, or if it's just the fact that because Cool joined the roster, they're all ganking Cool. So they're all just so free to do what they want now because Cool's just constantly being batted down with ganks and having a very rough time with some of his
It's so tough for him because he suffered the exact same problem on LGD, on OMG. This guy has been in the LPL for years and he's always absorbing all of this pressure. This time though, I mean, Gimgoon got to feel some of that pain, but that bottom lane was largely untouched, and despite an early CS advantage for Light, LWX still got massive by the end.
Yeah, it was only level 1 where things looked a little bit iffy for LWX. Both deaths were a result of something unexpected, let's say, for him. So potentially close to the perfect game for
close enough, he'll get one more chance. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for Game 2 and see if LWX can lock down that perfect game.
凤凰的精神就是不畏挑战，燃烧青春。